Composer Gustavo Santaolalla. If I got that name wrong, you can blame the internet. Might have accidentally slipped that the 3-year-old game The Last of Us Part 2 will probably be getting a remake.
He stated in a recent interview that the new version of the game will allow players to interact with his cameo character a little bit more than the first game.
Welcome to NecroNews, the show where we cover the latest gaming news, or garbage like this, where a 3-year-old game gets Things are a bit different this week, so this is actually part 2 of this week's news. Part 1 was posted yesterday, and largely focuses on the Activision Blizzard merger, so check that out if you haven't already.
Also, don't forget to subscribe to us for more gaming news. On the 11th, Paimon's VA, Corina Bolliger, claimed that they hadn't been paid since December of 2022. This was echoed by Brandon Winkler, who is another Genshin VA, that claims he also hasn't been paid, but they kept going because they love doing their jobs. But it's been getting hard.
Surprisingly, HoYoverse actually put out a statement saying that they had been paying their recording studio on time and have urged the studio to pay their voice actors. They also stated that they are seeking alternative solutions in the meantime.
This, along with the recent not safe for work deepfakes used in Skyrim, have many wondering if VA should be unionized to prevent things like this from happening in the future.
I'm honestly surprised they're not already.
As am I, actually. I kinda thought that was a thing already. Irdeto, the company behind the shitty anti-piracy DRM Denuvo, has stated that they're going to prove once and for all that their software doesn't slow down computers.
For those unfamiliar, Denuvo has been accused of causing games to run worse than their pirated counterparts. For anyone who watched me play Hogwarts Legacy, you'd see how often we had to tweak the game settings.
Despite all this, Irdeto insists no true comparison has ever been done before. That is, the same version of the same game running on the same PC. So these videos that are on the screen right now, they don't exist. They're all made up. They're fiction, not real, never happened.
Irdeto COO of video games, Steve Huynh, told Ars Technica, also fuck Booster for giving me this line. There is no clear statement that there is no perceptible impact on gameplay because of the way we do things. Our voice is unfortunately not sufficient to convince people because we're not trusted in their mind as a starting point in their debate. Because, you know, companies and COOs don't lie. Steve.
To settle that, Irdeto has stated that they'll give 2 identical copies of a game to, quote, trusted media outlets. Surely these will be 100% factual comparisons with pure journalistic integrity. Surely they wouldn't lie to us at all.
I'm sure Kotaku will take that in a heartbeat.
There's been a damning report produced by the Video Game History Foundation and the Software Preservation Network that in short states that just 13% of games published in the US prior to 1985 are still available via re-releases. That means the remaining 87% of these games are lost to time.
Unfortunately, the figures are consistent across platforms and time periods, with the reissue rate of games from that era being less than 3%. The study notes that based on the data gathered, it suggests these problems will intensify over time due to a low diversity of reissue sources and the long-term volatility of digital game storefronts.
Now, while the study doesn't make any recommendations to preserve games for study, the Video Game History Foundation dropped some pretty big hints. Imagine if the only way to watch Titanic was to find a used VHS tape and maintain your own vintage equipment so that you could still watch it. And what if no library, not even the Library of Congress, could do any better? They could keep and digitize that VHS of Titanic, but you'd have to go all the way there to watch it. It sounds crazy, but that's the life we live in.
That being said, we certainly do not endorse piracy of any kind, especially from sites such as Internet Archive, where anyone with a mass downloader such as JDownloader could download the collections of every game, such as the PS2, Xbox, and back.
Piracy is bad and wrong. In fact, it's badong. That's how not okay it is to pirate games. Don't do it. Niantic is the gaming equivalent of a one-hit wonder. They literally cannot get away from Pokemon Go, despite how hard they try. They've had titles like Monster Hunter Now, Pikmin Bloom, Peridot. None of them have come even close to the success that Pokemon Go has. And even if they weren't comparing it to Pokemon Go, they just didn't do well.
So after ditching 25% of their workforce just to focus on Pokemon Go, that's 230 employees, one unnamed Asian female has sued Niantic, calling it a boys' club that doesn't pay women or women of color fairly. Luckily though, it seems there is no sexual harassment, just discrimination.
Jane Doe learned that while she'd gotten promotions and raises, a male colleague 1 rank lower than her had been earning more money. Last year, the unnamed guy was earning $127,000 while she was only getting $105,000, later to be $115,000.
Thanks to California law demanding employers show their pay range for a position, she also learned she was getting paid $10,000 less than what her position was being advertised for.
So she discussed this with her other female employees, and one of them brought this up in a meeting with Niantic's Director of Diversity, Equality, and Inclusion, which at the time seemed like a good idea.
It wasn't. Not only did the director make it clear that they and other male upper management were hostile to the complaint and accusations of sexism, but unnamed executives said that the employee's job evaluation would be affected by her discussion. They even said her pay was low because she had complained.
So Jane left Niantic's female-only resource group called the Wolfpack, fearing that they would be dragged down by association with her. When the Wolfpack held a survey, they found that many female employees felt the company had a sexist work culture that disadvantages female employees. This survey was then given to the Chief Marketing Officer,
who then asked them to remove references to sexism from their presentation, such as the aforementioned boys club allegation, and that they can't survey staff without approval from upper management. Unfortunately, these are all just accusations at this point, but it's not hard to see what Niantic's future could be thanks to this.
I don't need a fortune teller to know that. Some woman is always causing me trouble. It's a curse.
Great chicken.
We really missed the boat not doing a section for nuggies when the Grimace milkshake was a thing. Could have called it the Chicken McNuggie Happy Meal.
Anyway, by popular demand, here's a list of upcoming games everyone should be excited for, aka Nugs or Nuggies.
First up, we have WayForward with a surprising announcement of a Clock Tower remake or remaster coming out soon. We're not really sure if it's a remake or a remaster since the trailer showed some new artwork, but the gameplay itself was the original pixel style. Only time will tell, I guess.
We also have Oaken, a Celtic lore-based deck building game. Looks pretty cute.
There's a Door, a monster capturing roguelite. That'll be fun.
Heavy, which is a 2D Metroidvania by the devs of Rabby Rebby.
We also have a new Toho game in the form of Toho New World. It's a top-down action RPG set in Gensokyo. And we have Exoprimal, which isn't as good as I was hoping. Anyway, for those who didn't see it in part 1, here's our schedule for the week. If you want to know the upcoming games and what this week's Buried Alive banger is, that's in part 1.
And let us know what stories stuck out to you most in the comments down below. And if you want to get a chance to vote on which news gets featured in our videos, be sure to join the Discord.
Until next time, everyone.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.